Hey guys, welcome to your 16th tip of the week with Helping Hands. This week we're going to be doing basic build orders. This was a popular one that a lot of people wanted to do, and I apologise for being so late for me to make this. I've just never got around to doing it, but here we go, here it is. Let's get straight into it. So basic build orders. What are they for all different factions? Let's go through it. First of all, we'll start off with the Soviets. So as you can see, we've got three different types of build orders here. I'm going to choose the most common. There's obviously going to be more than this, and same thing with all factions, but I'm going to be choosing the most popular build orders for all factions. So here we go. Let's start off with the standard. You know, this used to be meta a long time ago, but you can still get away with it. This is the conscript opener. So over here we have 4 conscripts. So normally, you start off with the engineer, then you go conscript, then another conscript, and then that's when you would probably be taken to healing, upgrading Molotovs, and then you go for the 4th conscript. Okay? So that's one build order, and then once you've done this and you've got map control, then you have to either take up to tier 1 or tier 2. So with tier 2, you probably want to get, if you're going for tier 2, then you'd get an AT gun with this build. As well with then you'd upgrade AT grenades, so then you've got some solid AT then, and then you'd get your engineers to build tier 3 for your T-70s and so on. So that's like that's one of the, really, this used to be quite a popular build back in the day, but not many people do it anymore. Probably because the builds over here are a little bit more effective, as conscripts aren't as good as they once used to be. But still, you can get away with this. So anyway, on to the second build order. So this build order is the Maxim spam, people call it. You normally start off, I put in a conscript into this build. The reason being is because you like to, you kind of would like a conscript for that to upgrade to an AT grenade, so you can get a damage engine if you need it. You get that extra capping power in the early game. So what you would do is you go off with your infantry, your engineers. You'd get them to build tier 2. And then while they're building tier 2, you'd also be building a conscript squad. And then in the next 3 builds would be Maxim, A moving with these units, and then for AT, you'd probably go for guards. If you're going, a very popular build with this is guard mortar coordination tactics. It's like a staple commander for the Soviets right now. And then you'd go double guards, upgrading the DPs on them, and then you'd probably be thinking maybe 1 guard, then taking up to tier 3, but you'd probably want to build a 2nd engineer to build your tier 3. Same thing goes with the other conscript build down here. You do eventually probably would like to get 2 engineers, one for a flamethrower to clear buildings and guys in green cover, and the other one for sweepers. So I say this for every faction, right? You always want 2 engineers or pioneers at some point, because you need the sweepers and you need the flamethrower capability. Normally you build the 2nd pioneer squad either because you need the sweeper or the flamethrower, or the fact that your other pioneer, the engineer, is out on the battlefield capping or mining, and you can't really afford to retreat you back to base. So that's when you probably would build a new engineer. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. This is so the Maxim strat. You just use these Maxims, try and use them in coordination with the others so they cover each other's flanks and stuff. And the conscripts there just for AT grenades and extra capping power in the early game, and giving your Maxims LOS so they can set up and flank and suppress enemy units. Okay, onto the third popular build here. This is the penal build combined with the scout car. So you'd go get your engineer out, you'd build the tier 1, then you go immediately for a penal. By the time you built your penal, you should have enough fuel for an M3. This is a really good build to counter OKW, I believe, because the penals with flamethrowers, I think they're getting in the next patch, the winter patch, they're removing their flamethrowers, so penals are getting a nerf next patch. They won't be as effective, so this build we'll probably see less of, but it's still, right now, it's quite strong. And I don't think they're going to get, it's not going to be nerfed into the ground so that you can't do this build. You just have to, be better at your micro and stuff to compensate for the, the penal lack of firepower. So, since they're losing their flamethrower next patch, then you'd want to upgrade the flamethrower on the engineers. So, like I say, the M3 comes out. The M3 is perfect for countering Kubel wagons. They're really good at chasing them down. And also, you haven't got to worry about Faust that early on in the game when this comes out against OKW, because they need their truck down to be able to Faust. Maybe Raketten, but if they go Raketten, that's a big bonus for you, because that is one less. That's a huge manpower investment on Raketten, right? It's 270 manpower that is going into purely to counter your M3, and you can lose your M3, and it's not a huge big loss to you because it's only 190 manpower, right? And it's good harassment unit. So if you ever think about you're up against a Raketten, a telltale sign of this is that your opponent hasn't got many infantry units out in the field, then that might be a clue to the fact that a Raketen is coming. So after the M3, you probably want another penal, and then after that, it's normally double guards. Try and upgrade. Don't upgrade both penals with flamethrowers straight away, because you will need some munitions to get the DPs on your guards to make them stronger, and you want these guys vetted up as fast as possible because they become lethal killing machines. Then once you have this, probably then you'd build another engineer to build your tier 3. This is a very nice, strong. Well, this is like the elite infantry build. That is quite popular, that I've been using quite effectively as Soviets. I like it a lot, and yeah, it seems to work quite well. The only risk with this build is that, say if you're up against someone who goes Panzer 2, then you're solely reliant on guards against that until you get your tier 3 up. Then if that's the case, try and utilize buildings, because the Panzer 2 is pretty crap at trying to kill units in buildings, and guards will, are fairly decent at dealing with the Panzer 2. They will kill it in a few volleys, maybe 3 or 4 volleys. So try and bear that in mind. Try and lay mines as well with this build with your engineers, so that any light vehicles get crushed. Also, you can put guards inside an M3 as well. And same thing with the with penals, and then they can become a mobile flamethrower device, and they can flank enemy units that are in buildings and burn them out quite quickly. So this is quite a nice little build there. So that's the Soviets for you. I noticed that I didn't include like shock troops. Currently, not many people are going shock troops, which is the other elite infantry for Soviets, if you didn't know. Why? Because they cost 400 manpower, I believe, or 390, I can't remember now, but they cost a lot. They're the most expensive Soviet infantry in the game, and they're only really good against close quarters. And you kind of need, penals and guards are good at all ranges, whereas shocks are only good at close quarters, and they cost a lot, right? So, I just think the reason why shocks aren't that popular at the moment is because the commanders they come in aren't too appealing. I mean, you can get the KV-8 or the IS-2 with them, but the T-30, the guards just do really well. They're good at, you got the button with guards to stop enemy vehicles. You've got the mortar, the 120 meter mortar that you want to add on into this build if you're up against a lot of fortified position, or you need mortar smoke to push in with your infantry. You also have T-34-85s in this build if you want to go for the guard mortar tactics, which is very, very good. T-34s are a pretty good tank. Whereas maybe the IS-2 comes a bit too late with the shocks, or maybe the KV-8. The KV-8 is still okay, but it's not very good versus vehicles, whereas the T-34 is good versus infantry and vehicles. So that's why I've not included the shocks. Like I say, I'm choosing the most popular builds for the Soviets and all factions, and shocks currently are one of them. Alright, so now we're moving on to the Brits. So here again we have 4 different kind of build orders, very similar to each other apart from the one on the right, but let's get through it. So as Brits, first thing, obviously you have an infantry section, then you can go for a second one, MG, sapper squad, tech up then after the MG, and the sapper, sniper, and then for AC. This build is, I would call this type of build a more of a defensive build, because you've got the sniper and the MG. It's quite a safe build to go for. But it's rather defensive build, and it works quite well. If you manage to if you want to focus one side and lock it down, this is kind of the build that you want to go for. Second build's are kind of more the aggression build. As you can see, there's no MG in this build, so it's infantry section, infantry section, infantry section, double sappers, and then AC. Double sappers are kind of good because you've got, sappers are cheap, they can cap a lot. This is a build if you want to grab a lot of territory quite quickly. Also, mobile assault is a very good commander to go with this because you can upgrade flamethrowers, get the AC out. Double engineers can help repair it quite quickly as well. So this is, I would say, more of the aggression build. If you're going for if you're rushing opponents' cut-offs and you're getting in buildings and stuff, this would be very good. As for generally infantry sections, you want to always upgrade with the medical supplies. So I see some people try and upgrade the flare. Now the flare costs more, and it's not really that useful for the squad, to be honest. Whereas you can get the sniper out, and he has the flare already. It costs maybe 5 more munitions to use. Actually, no, it probably costs the same. Actually, I think. Let me just see if this one will work. Bear with me a second. Yeah, so basically what happened there was it cost you 40 munitions to upgrade, and then it costs you 45 munitions to use it, whereas the sniper can just use it straight away. So upgrading it to a flare is probably not the best use of your resources. Upgrading it to medical supplies is. So And then what you want to do is you want to keep jumping out of combat with infantry sections, and then healing, and then replacing that squad that's damaged with like one of your healthier squads. Jump back in the building while this one's healing, and then you just swap them in and out again. So this one's, once that's done healing, you jump in back into the house, and like so. So yeah, what you want to do, so you go infantry section, MG, then you tech, and then you would also, as soon as you want it done teching, you want to upgrade that the medical supplies on your squads. Same thing goes with all builds with this. Okay, so on to the third build here. So this is a bit of both. See, we've got 3 infantry sections instead of the 2 over here. But this is more of this is like a heavy tier 1 because you've got that extra MG or the extra infantry section. So this is a build if you know, I still think this is a pretty strong build, but you would want to do this if someone remembers maybe Ostrupen spamming you, because you need that extra infantry firepower up. If you do expect Ostrupen, or you see Ostrupen and you think you're rushing for a quick vehicle, then possibly maybe getting the extra squad is not the best of ideas. You might want to go for the quick tech to an AC, but if you don't have enough fuel for an AC and you've been out-capped, then your first bet is going for an anti-tank gun and also laying some mines on key cut-off points with your sappers. So this is a fairly decent British build that I sometimes go for. My most common build I like is probably the one up top, this one. You don't always go for a sniper though in your build. If you're up against some people who are Ostrupen spamming, sniper isn't the best bet, but if you do see team weapons and stuff, then maybe getting the sniper out, is a good thing to go for. It's good, very good against OKW. Taking out Stern Pioneer squads and stuff like that, you know, sniper will inflict a lot of bleed. The last build over here is a different commander. So all these 3 builds over here I like going mobile assault with, but this build over here, I haven't done this in a while, but it still works quite well, is the commander where you can give your Bren gun command vehicle, and I believe you have the off-map artillery. Let me see if I can find those abilities for us. So we go. So it's designate command vehicle. You put that on your Bren gun.
Vehicle is now a command post. Air support overhead.
So what you do with this build is you go infantry section. Then I put them in a line like this because you might want to choose either one, but you want to get like one of these out either way. Definitely want to get the Bren gun out at some point and quite early, because you know, first of all, the Bren is also very good against kiting enemy infantry, and if you're up against an austere sniper, that is your unit to go for. But the reason why you get the Bren out is not to counter snipers or deal damage to infantry. It's to become the command vehicle. So currently the command vehicle ability costs actually 75 munitions to put on a vehicle, but you get free recon, which is OP as hell, and I still don't know why they've not nerfed this. But the recon just lasts for 90 seconds until it either gets shot down, and then once it's finished, you basically can use it immediately again, like after maybe a minute or so, which is pretty sweet. So you can have constant recon, which is great for spotting enemy sniper positions or enemy positions in general, allowing you to easily flank enemy routes and that kind of thing. So with this build, you definitely want an MG, double infantry sections. I put them in a line because it doesn't really matter what order they come in, so just build them like that. Then double sappers, again, you want to get double sappers like I said earlier with the double engineers. Double sappers, always anyway. They're cheap, they can cap quickly, they can lay in mines and wire up, and they're better than Pioneers. Pioneers are a little bit cheaper. So yeah, and also AEC. I wish that plane would stop. It is rather annoying. So then you have 3 AEC. You go for 1 AEC. AEC is like the general thing that you'd like to do. Some people like to go SimCity Commander, but that's another build order that you could do. But I'm not gonna tell people about that because they're so lame and it's not fun to do. And anybody who's got a brain can counter it easily. So the SimCity Commander isn't, going Bofors, that kind of thing isn't a good idea. Bear with me a second, I'm just going to wait until this fucking plane's gone away. There we go, I can hear myself think now, excuse me. So yeah, so AEC, great unit for killing vehicles with. If you expect to be like spam with 222s or like a Puma, then getting a second one out is a good idea if you have the fuel, because they're still good against killing infantry and dealing against damage against tanks. It will probably be a good investment. Just be careful not to get Fausted and end up losing the vehicle. So double AEC can work quite well. They will delay your tech for tier 3, but that's not a huge deal. If you do have double AC out and you do make them count, you'll be beating your opponents. You'll get and therefore you'll have the fuel territories, and you'll make up for it. So then then for the mobile assault commander at this stage, once you've got all these these units out over here, you've probably got 4 CPs. So then probably going for the infiltration commandos with the mobile assault commander is a very good choice. They can be called in at any building, any ambient building through the fog of war if it's not occupied, and they're really good at flanking. You can jump them in, you can immediately put them on hold fire, so they camo pretty much immediately. And then they can launch a surprise gammon bomb, which is absolutely lethal. It's probably one of the best grenades in the game. Even if units are clumped up in green cover, they will all die due to the gammon bomb because it does such high damage. So make sure if you're going to get a gammon bomb, try and get a squad that's clumped up. Also, good against killing snipers as well. You can sneak up on the sniper behind it and then take it out, or try and go on its retreat path. AT gun, so you get an 8 say if you lost your, you haven't got enough fuel and you didn't have enough, so you've not enough fuel to take up to an AC. AT gun would probably be your call in any one of these builds, so that you could counter any enemy light vehicles. You eventually want to get an AT gun out anyway, because same thing with like Soviets, you would like to get yourself a Ziz gun if you can, because a nice variety of units to complement each other quite well. So having one AT gun, something that can't be killed easily by tanks, would be very good. So like a Puma, if you're up against a Puma, more likely the AT gun would be your best bet, because the Puma's crap against killing infantry, so it would be good against dealing with an AT gun, right? So an AT, you get an AT gun out late game or even mid game. Then after you've done all this, I would say then either double Cromwell with this mobile assault commander that I like using a lot. Either go Cromwell, depending on how many CPs you have though. So go Cromwell, then land mattress, or double Cromwells into land mattress, depending on how many command points you have. Because this costs 8 CPs to call in this. Land mattress is a no-brainer. I always like getting a land mattress out because it's a mobile artillery piece. Brits don't have it non-doctrinally. I know some people like going for the mortar bunker, but that can be hard countered with leagues. And enemy mortar fire, and it just becomes a pain really to keep trying to heal, because you try and repair it, and when your guys are repairing it they get mortared and then they all die, and that means like your sappers will die. So with the land mattress you can just fire it and then reverse it back to base and you haven't got to worry about it. It's just a great little unit, quite cheap as well I think, and invaluable. So but always make sure once you fire it, reverse it all the way back to your base, and then once it's like a quarter way to recharging, then you bring it back out on the field again, fire, repeat the process. As with Cromwells are the best tank in the game for crushing, I believe. And now we're moving on to the USF, United States of America. Hoorah! Let's go. Okay, so first build order as USF. So you start off with REs, and then you go rifle, then you go for a mortar, then maybe another rifle, and a med truck. So you definitely want to get a med truck, and every single build you want to get a med truck. But when would you get the med truck? It always depends on how healthy your squads are. So let's say you had a very good couple of successful engagements with your first 2 rifles, and they retreated back to base, and they both had maybe they lost 2 men, but they have 60% health. Then you probably wouldn't want to get a med truck, because you wouldn't get a good return on that early investment. On the other hand, if you had a bad engagement and you retreated your squad and you've got a 5-man squad and like 30% health, then what you want to do with that is you definitely want to get yourself a med truck, because if you take that squad and you go onto the battlefield with that squad, they're going to die super quickly, and you're going to feed veterans to the enemy, and it's going to be expensive to reinforce. So the best thing to do is just get a med truck out and heal them up back at base. If you feel like you're going to lose territory because of that, try and get that weak squad to back cap some points around the map that are close to your base that the enemy won't be near, and then retreat the map when the med truck's out. That way you can cap and so you're getting the best out of your time while the squad's not fighting anything. Okay, so yeah, so rifle, mortar, rifle, med truck somewhere between this lot, then an LT with this build, then either an M20 or an AA half jet. You could do both, right? But it's depending on how much fuel you've got and how comfortable you are. So if you've got lots of fuel by this stage, then going for the AA half track might be better, because it's better against killing enemy vehicles than compared to the M20. Next patch, the M20 will not have its Zook automatically upgraded with the crew inside the M20, so they'll have to jump out, then upgrade the Zook, sorry. So maybe this would become worse against dealing with vehicles, whereas the AA half, this thing is going to be better, I believe, against doing. However, remember, this is one of the most annoying units to micro in the game, as it only fires from its rear. As you can see with the arc, it can't fire in front of it. So whenever you have an engagement, you got to reverse it into the combat if possible, and then try and remember to just move it like normal, like forward, to try and get it out of the combat. So try and get in the habit of reversing it around everywhere if you decide to use this. It's the only unit that really requires this funky micro, but it's kind of cool because I like that, and it makes a higher skill level. It makes it a bit more interesting anyway. So with the M20, you use the M20 if you feel like you want to kill Kubel quickly. The M20 is better unit, chasing squad, so good for killing a Kubel, good for taking out sniper and retreat. The AA half trick is not good of a unit for chasing. So that's it, that build then. And after you've gone with this, you probably want to upgrade Zooks and Shreks. So as a standard case with USF, I like to upgrade Zooks on my REs and bars on my rifles. I would recommend this to everybody. Why? Because the engineers, the rear echelons and the M1 carbines pretty suck against dealing damage, right? And if you gave the Zook to a rifle with an M1 Grand that is a lot better at killing dudes, then he would lose his a little bit of firepower. Whereas if you give the Zook to an RE, you're not really losing much firepower there, and they become better utility against killing enemy vehicles. So I would do that. After this, probably go for a major, then Shermans, and then whatever commander you've chosen. Other build order here. This is the captain build order that I like to do. So start with an RE. So exactly the same thing again, really. Always three rifles, mortar, med truck somewhere in between. LT. Then you skip the tech and go straight for a captain. Why do you just go for the LT and not get any vehicles? Because you get an extra rifle that is pretty cheap at 200 manpower, and he has a Thompson and a bar, which really can turn the tide of an infantry engagement. So then you've got 4 rifles now. Excuse me. And then you've got captain. So you get your captain upgrades with a Zook. Then you probably want to upgrade with the. So you get your Zook. Then you go for a Stuart. Once you've got your Stuart, then that's when you upgrade everybody with bars and Zooks. So same thing again. REs with Zooks, and then bars on your rifles. This is very good. Also, always you get, the USF mortar right now is broken. It's too good, but it's, once it's got nerfed, it should still be a decent mortar. You still want a mortar anyway, because you need, mortar smoke is invaluable at helping push positions, and you can barrage MG positions and stuff, and that kind of thing, which could really help you in your fight against MG42s and that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's that build. Notice there's no pack howitzers in any of this build. Pack howitzers right now are, why would you get a pack howitzer when you can get a mortar out which does the same job for a lot cheaper, and it can mortar smoke. It's no brainer going for the mortar. So, but maybe next patch, because the USF mortar is getting enough, maybe a pack howitzer might be good now after this. It's still a fairly decent unit. It's just too expensive when you've got something like this is cheap and more usable. Where would you get an AT gun in any of these builds? AT gun would probably be like after you got Stuart out and after you got Bartek, probably then you'd get maybe an AT gun if you're now dealing with Panzer IV. Like when you see a Panzer IV or an Oswald, that's when you think you should go for an AT gun. Or if you suspect tier 3 tech, then go for an AT gun before the armor hits. So finally on to this last build. This build is the RE spam. Now REs, unupgraded, are pretty crap. But the idea of this build is that you spam out REs at the start, you cap a lot of territory, you use buildings to slow the enemy advancement down, you hold them up so they can't cap territory and you're being a nuisance. That way you get a lot of map control early, a lot of resources quickly, allows you to tech up to get your Stuart out as fast as possible. You can also do this build, instead of a captain and a Stuart, you can go for an LT and these. But I've just decided to put a Stuart here. But with the captain, you can... you'll have you'll have AT then with the Zook. The Stuart's good against killing vehicles. Then you upgrade bars and all that's when the crucial thing here is after you got the Stuart out, then you try and upgrade bars and stuff. Actually though, you might want to do that earlier. So scratch what I just said then. What you want to do early in the build is you want to be upgrading bars and stuff as soon as you can on your REs, because if you don't, they're going to be you're just going to get ruffle stomped, which is not going to be fun. You need to just make sure that you are you try and upgrade them, put them on the healthy squads, put the bars on the vetted squads so they can vet up faster, and try and also, I forgot to put a med truck here, but yeah, a med truck obviously definitely as well. Same time, probably maybe after the fourth RE or the third RE, that's when you put the med truck in this build. And then as for commanders, the Pershing commander is always great. The armored commander is really great. The Calliope commander is pretty good. They all work well with either one of these builds. Take your pick. It's just a matter of flavour. A Ranger squad would be good in all these squads. Pershing would always be useful at Calliope. Though, if you do have quite a lot of artillery units like mortars, then maybe Calliope commander would not be a good idea, because you already have that role fulfilled with the mortar teams or pack howitzers, right? So on to the Austere. Let's start then. So to begin with, we have the aggression build, I would like to call it, or the build that requires utilizing of buildings quite a lot with the grenadiers. This is because you don't have any MGs in this build. Therefore you've got nothing that can suppress rifles to try and rush you. So the idea here is that you go. So first of all, you go Gren, or sniper, or Gren sniper. Gren doesn't really matter. Get a sniper in this build anyway. Then another Gren, so you have 3 grenadiers. Always keep your grenadiers near your sniper so that they can Faust at any one time. And then probably a med bunker in between any one of these, depending on like I said earlier with the Americans. Depending on how healthy your squads are, you always want to get your med bunker up at some point. Then after this, you go either, depending on how the situation is going. If you're wrecking face, maybe Panzer grenadiers. If you expect maybe a M20 or a light vehicle, then maybe go for a pack first, possibly putting down some tellers with your pioneers so that you deal with it. If you're doing really well, then maybe double Panzer grenadiers instead, but then one of them can upgrade to Shreks, therefore you got more anti-infantry capability. Then a 222, because 222 is great at harassing enemy vehicles, chasing snipers and stuff. It's all, I've got a 222 in all builds because it's just a great cheap unit that's expendable. Next patch, it's going to cost a little bit more, so maybe it might not always be a no-brainer option, but we'll see. I also put Stuggies. Now, the Stuggies are for the Mechanized Assault Command that the Austere get. These will come out around 7 CP's time, I believe. They are very good against killing infantry, but I think they're getting a nerf next patch, so we'll see if they're going to be still usable. But they are very good. I'm normally going double Stuggies at this point in the game would be quite good. These are normally like your comeback vehicles, so if you're struggling, you bring these out, then you go for a Tiger maybe later on. So this is going on to the second build. This is my favourite build. Won many tournaments with it. Let's see your stripping build. 1 second, guys. Bit ill today, excuse me. So Austrian build. So we go from MG42 with the so you start off with the MG42, then you go 3 Austrian squads. These guys are great for delaying enemy. They're cheap, they're expendable, they can recruit stuff quite quickly. They're great for delaying in houses and doing damage in houses. Sometimes if you ever watch me, I might skip the MG and bring it out a bit later. The reason for that is that I want my Austrupen capping as much territory as possible. If it's a big map, then I probably will go for like double Austrupen, then the MG. Or if it's a smaller map, then I'll probably go for MG Austrupen. For instance, if there's a map where the house, there's a crucial house on an enemy cut-off, then the MG looks more tangible because I go for an Austrupen, rush that house, then by the time the MGs come out, I can replace the Austrupen squad with the MG, and the MG can then hold the cut-off. Like a classic example of this is Arnhem Checkpoint, where I rush the church from the north, which is very effective. So once you've got these 4 units out, or these 4 extra units out, then build the bunker. If you build the bunker if you have extra resources. If not, take up quickly as fast as you can to tier 2. Get yourself a flamethrower half truck out. If you don't have enough fuel, then go for the 222 first. The reason why you want to get these vehicles out as fast as you can, because your opponent, you only have a certain amount of window, a window frame. Window frame? You only got a certain amount of time, right, to make these vehicles count before they have AT. So get them out, do as much damage as you can with them, try and not to get them AT grenaded if possible, and then you should be in a commanding position, because once you got the vehicles out, that means you've got the tech advantage. You know, whenever you get kills with vehicles, you know, he's not trading evenly, because you're not, you know, vehicles aren't going to, don't take manpower when they get damaged, manpower bleed when they get damaged, so you're going to be ahead if you get your vehicles out as fast as possible. So flamethrower is great for killing guys in buildings, guys that are support teams that can't move very quickly, like Maxim Spam. This is perfect for dealing with Maxim Spam and flamethrower half track, because they can only, you know, they might get one Ziz gun out, and if they've got one Ziz gun out and loads of Maxims, you just get another 222 out, and the AT can only shoot one of them, and then you flank it, or then you can flamethrower burn it. Double Panzer Grenadier is probably next, one with Shreks, one with not, if or maybe, you know, don't need Shreks because your opponent might be spamming infantry. You like to get two, because then you always have the opportunity to upgrade to Shreks, and then you have some handheld AT, which is always great. If you do actually suspect that your opponent might be going for an M3 rush, or maybe a Dodge car from the Americans, the WC-51, I believe, or maybe a Bren, then maybe building tier 1 early might be better than quickly teching up, because you get the Faust upgrade. When you build tier 1, Ostrupen get access to the Faust, the Panzer Faust, right? So, and this might catch your opponent off guard if you get it up, if you get the tier 1 up early, before when as soon as you notice that he's going for an M3 or something like that. And then the best thing to do when you have that advantage and he doesn't know you have a Faust, try and pretend to feign retreat, like, oh god, there's an M3 with a flamethrower in it, I'm going to back away. He gets way too close, thinking he's going to easily chase down the Ostrupen, and then you go, ah ha ha, I have Panzer Faust, then you Faust him, and then he's dead because he can't get away, and then you got all the Ostrupen nearby that can Faust and kill him off. Yes, good stuff. And then you have Pack Gun. Pack Gun, you know, you might want to get Pack at any one point, you know, handheld AT with the Shreks, then you've got solid AT, just to be on the safe side. You know, it doesn't hurt ever to get a Pack out. Don't get it out if you don't need it, though. You know, get Shreks first, then if he gets like a Stewart or something that you may not be able to deal with. I mean, a Faust and a Panzer Grenadier with Shrek team is more than enough to take down a Stewart or T-70, or any light vehicle for that matter. But you might want to get a Pack, just in case he's really good with his micro on it, you might want to get the Pack out. It's probably best, though, to just go for another Panzer Grenadier. Double Scout Cars, like I said, with the Flamethrower Hydra could work quite well. Vehicle of aggression. Now, with the Ostrupen Commander, later on in the game, if it keeps going on, you probably want to go for like maybe double Panzer 4, because they're cheap. Or if you're up against maybe like you think your opponent is going for IS-2 or something, then probably a Panther would probably be better. If you do go for a tier 4, you have the Artillery Officer, right? So get the Artillery Officer out if you're going for a Panzerwerfer. Why? Because you can fire the Panzerwerfer, and then you can also get it to use the Artillery Officer's ability to target another area, and the Panzerwerfer will fire immediately again. This is a great way. It's only like 40 manpower, 40 munitions, sorry, to spend or something to use this ability. And that allows your Panzerwerfer to fire twice and basically cheat its cooldown. And this will work if you've got, even if you've got an ALEF-H or like stuff like that, or even get another Panzerwerfer. Both Werfers will fire off their cooldown, which is great. I can't demonstrate it right here because this officer sounds British, even though he's German, because I'm using a cheat mod and it won't have their abilities. But rest assured, the Artillery Officer does have that ability, which allows your Panzerwerfer to fire twice. But it does cost munitions.
Where do you want us?
Yeah. Okay, third build. This is more of the standard meta build that a lot of people do as austere. So MG first, double Gren, maybe a sniper or a third Gren, and then 2-2, maybe into a Pack. This is a very standard build, very typical build, quite solid, quite defensive build though. This build would work quite well, maybe Langraskaya for instance. Med bunker there, you know, once you've got a couple of units out, get the healing down. 2-2 again to harass enemy vehicles and chase snipers. This is a good build. Yeah, that's the austere couple of builds there for you. If you're competent with your micro, I would suggest trying going for the Ostrupen build. It is quite high intensity vehicle micro, but it's good payoff if you get it to work right. You can end the game quickly with this, and it's quite a lot of fun because Ostrupen make you feel unique, and they sound pretty cool, right? Over here, and then this one over here is also quite a difficult build because you don't have any MGs to suppress enemy units. So this one's a bit more of a high level build because you have to micro your sniper incredibly well to keep backing away and sniping and stuff, because you've got no MG to suppress enemy units, so the enemy units will just keep on coming at you. But you could still get away, and you get your grenadiers to stand in cover and shoot the guys trying to chase your sniper. That should work quite well. But yeah, there you go, there's the Austin build. Let's move on to finally the OKW! Yes! Okie finally, let's go on to OKW. So OKW, currently right now they're pretty weak in terms of the early mid game. They're still quite strong late game, but early mid game they struggle because of their healing and their disadvantages and like with the leagues and stuff. Anyway, let's get on to it. They're getting buffed next patch, so hopefully they'll be a bit better, and I'll try and use that knowledge of the patch to try and see if this will help with these current builds. So let's go. Stone Pioneers, obviously. Then you go for always go for a Volk, then a Kubel. Why Volk then Kubel? Because the Volk, by the time you build, so the first thing that you could build, you have enough manpower for is 250 manpower at the start of the game when you have Sturms out, right? Build the Volk first, because if you build the Volk second, it's quicker to build the Volk first, and then the Kubel second. Because if you build the Kubel, you can get the Kubel out straight away, but you probably want to use all your manpower available to you immediately, right? Because you'll have excess manpower when you build the Kubel. It's really, if you ever do this, you build the Volk first, and by the time the Volk's built, you'll have exactly 210 manpower to build the Kubel. So always go Volk Kubel first. That's what I'd say in my opinion. Then 2 more Volks. Depending if you're up against the fast M3 or something, you might want to go for a Ketten. Normally wait until you've got your tier 1 up first, then get healing. Don't know why there's Soviet medics here, but maybe they decided to work for the Reich, who knows. So there we go, you get your medics out, they heal you guys up, then go for possibly go for an MG in this build. League is good to counter enemy mortars. It's not that great against enemy infantry, but we'll see how it fares in later patches. It's probably one of the worst. It costs 330 manpower for not much return on it compared to like a USF mortar, which costs 240. So it's a bit iffy getting this. It's very good though for killing mortar emplacements. So get this to counter mortar emplacements. Just constantly bombard it. After you've done that, probably go tech up to get your Schwer out. Then probably go for a P4 or a Jagdpanzer. You can also, instead of going for a Schwer, you can add in some Jaeger-like infantry to flank your opponent, like infiltration commandos kind of thing, and then go for an Ostwind instead. If you go for an Ostwind, that means you need to get maybe a double Raketen out to counter enemy vehicles, because by the time you have an Ostwind out, possibly up against USF, you might be up against M10s, so you need like Mines Down, Shrek'd up Pioneer possibly, or double Raketen. Okay, on to the second build. So the first build was going for the battle group headquarters. The second build right now is very risky this patch, but next patch it should be a lot easier to do. Why? Because Pioneers will be able to get their medical supplies straight away, not at Veteran C1. They'll be able to put them down, and they'll only cost 20 manpower, 20 munitions. So you can heal up your troops, and so that, because normally right now, you have to wait to Vet 1 and it costs 40. And all your Volks are suffering because they've had engagements and they can't get healed up. This will make healing them up a lot cheaper and a lot quicker, and it'll make it a lot more viable to go for your mechanized regiment headquarters. So again, Volk, Kubel, Volk, get your mechanized up. Then either go for a Panzer II or a Puma. I almost always choose a Panzer II because you need to kill that infantry off. Whereas a Puma is only good for killing armor. You can get Raketen to deal with armor if you need to, and then you also have Faust because you have your structure up. Remember, you only get Fausts when you have one of these buildings down on your Volks, so bear that in mind. Once you've got that, probably want to get your mechanized, your battle group headquarters, then your Schwer, then maybe your P4 or your Jagdpanzer, depending on how things are going. Now this build on the right hand side is a bit more of an experimental build that I've been trying out lately, with varied success. You go double Stern Pioneers, Kubelwagen. So you go. I think you go Kubelwagen first, then Stern Pioneer squad. Then you go for a Volk afterwards. Then get your battle group headquarters up as soon as possible. Get maybe a League out to counter enemy mortars. If no mortars around, probably don't go for the League. And then try and go for a couple Panzer Fusiliers. Panzer Fusiliers are one of the best infantry in the game, in my opinion. When they get the Veteran C5, they become lethal killing machines, and even with G43s upgraded, they can still pick up dropped weapons. So you can have like 3 G43s and maybe 2 bars, or 2 M19s, or 2 LMGs, MG42s, like machine guns or whatever. That'd be really sexy, and these guys would be beastly. So they're really, really strong. And they're 6 men, so that means they've got survivability. They also have grenades and AT grenades as well, so they have snares as well. And also they have flares once they get veterancy, so they can pop flares and give vision around the map, which would be good in with unison with your leagues, because the leagues will get vision and they'll have something to fire at. The Sturm Officer is a bit iffy. He does provide a bonus to accuracy to all infantry, and you know, if I move him across here, you'll see him get the bonus. So you can see the distance it needs to be. You need to be fairly close, right? So maybe that you can see that's where you know, from there to there, that's the distance you need to be. So probably like this would be the circular distance around the officer. The bad thing about this officer, if the officer gets killed, the entire army retreats. That's near to him, which is a huge pain. So that's his really big downside. So keep him at the back of the army. He can still do damage. He does have 3 Obersoldaten guys with Kar 98s that are providing fire, but he does not gain any veterancy, which is kind of a shame. He also has a couple abilities: target them and force retreat. That is good if you if you want to focus down a squad on retreat. Target them is pretty good, or just a squad in general to quickly whittle it down. Force retreat might be very good for dealing with like an MG suppressing your units, or you want to flank in a position, but the MG, so there's one unit there that's really causing you problems. Use the force retreat, then that could really open up an avenue of attack for you. So yep, try that. After this, then you'd probably want to go for your Schwer. Get that down, either Panzer IV or Panther, or maybe Jagdpanzer. It all depends like I said, these are all basic build orders, because later on in the game you can never anticipate what you're going to be up against. So, because a Panzer IV would be good for certain situations, and a Jagdpanzer would be better, or even a Panther. So, it's all about a matter of the situation. Whatever vehicle you want to get out on the field, or maybe you're even going to have an Obersoldaten squad. Really, I probably would prefer Panzer Fusiliers over Obersoldaten. Why? Because more survivability, 6 men versus 4. They have snares, Obersoldaten do not, and only one guy on the Obersoldaten team will have the MG42, MG34, sorry, and so there's only one guy will be doing a lot of DPS on that squad if you haven't gone for the commander that gives them SDGs. And even then, only 2 of the guys get SDGs. So, whereas Panzer Fusiliers can pick up weapons and stuff, and I mean, Obersoldaten, even with one LMG with the MG34, can pick up weapons. But I'd still choose these guys, Panzer Fusiliers, over the Obersoldaten because of just the survivability, the snare.
Steady then.
So yeah, I think that's it. There's some basic build orders for you guys. I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions about any other potential build orders that you've been trying yourself or not having much success with, or build orders that you have a lot of success with and I haven't mentioned, please let me know. I might be able to cover them over for other people, give some feedback on them. If you thought I missed anything, any obvious build orders, I hope I haven't. Made me look bad. Please don't make me look bad. But yeah, hopefully that helped, and I'll see you next time. Sorry it took so long to get this tip of the week out.
Nice and steady.
To be honest, I just forgot about it. I've been putting it off because I don't know, I'm lazy. But I'll try and get another one out to you soon. I don't know what the next tip of the week will be, but you guys can decide. Let me know in the comment section below what you want. I'll stop rambling on now. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.